is happening, fellow fantasy GMs? I am JJ Wang. He is the bearded one, DJ Dub. And with our powers combined, we are the Fantasy Couriers.
Well, JJ Wang, as we're recording this, it is December. We are in the home stretch. It's the holiday season. I got my shirt that I'm wearing with a little Santa hat, got books. No one can see it, but I was telling you today was Spirit Day at school. So I have a green beard and green spiky hair, which can't see in the green background, but it's there.
I love Spirit Day in school. It was fun. It was, not all the kids participated, but you got a
Yeah.
majority of kids participating.
And when you're the drama teacher, I feel like I got to go overboard. Like next week, in 2 weeks, I'm going to wear a full-fledged Santa suit. Maybe I'll try to. I hope that falls on a podcast day. That would be awesome to do the podcast
That
as
would
Santa.
be awesome. Yes, it would be.
So I'll have to look up and see what day that is, and I'll keep you updated. But I do my beard all in white, and I got the whole thing sitting there. I'll at least have a Instagram post on there with it. But it's been a long day. Sorry, everybody. The show's a little late. I realized yesterday in the morning that I had dress rehearsal for my play. So it's like, JJ Wang, we're in trouble. And this is past JJ Wang's bedtime as we're recording.
I just yawned. So if anybody I'm usually getting ready to lay down by now.
So I scurried home so we could record it. So we won't have a lot of talk about the Thursday night game because it probably will be in progress till I get everything put together. I did post a Facebook thing, so we'll have some Facebook comments. That anything that pops up while we're recording, we will answer on the podcast. So it'll be sporadically through, and then we'll just go through the Week 13 slate. But as we're getting in, I think really the biggest story of this week, we talked about it a little bit Monday, is the return of Deshaun Watson going in this week. We talked about Deshaun Watson himself, but looking at the ancillary players, the other players that we're going through on that team, how do you think he's going to affect let's start with Chubb. What effect do you think he will have on Nick Chubb this week? Will it be positive, negative, or indifferent?
I feel like it'd be kind of positive for Chubb. I feel like they want to lean on the run while they get Watson back into the game, especially if he's kind of struggling in the beginning. I mean, if he's not feeling it, they're going to run more. But if he comes out, the old Deshaun Watson is just able to sling it all over the place, and then Amari Cooper is going to look good, and then maybe Peoples-Jones continues to I don't know what word I'm looking for right now.
Light it up.
Yeah, maybe.
That's probably why. What
right,
about
definitely why?
Dynasty deeper? Is this the time Dynasty owners, if he has gotten dropped or something, should be peeking in on David Bell?
I guess maybe.
He's there, but
I mean, if he's there, I mean, we'll throw a flyer. But like I said, it's kind of at this point in the game, it's kind of late. If you got to start David Bell at any point in the future,
I think Dynasty.
If he's out there, I'm pretty sure that you've held on to a guy all season that's been garbage, and you're like, well, now it's time I can drop this guy because he's not relevant. Maybe somebody older, and go pick up some of the younger guys. I've done that a little bit here in Dynasty on the teams that that I can afford to drop somebody. But yeah, it's worth a look, I guess.
Personally, I think probably one of the biggest beneficiaries. He's starting to pick it up. He's been a dud for most of us for many years. I think David Njoku will be the biggest beneficiary because he's starting to play like the player we thought he would be out of Miami, and add Deshaun Watson.
I guess, like I said, it just depends on the Deshaun Watson that we get. Do we get the old Deshaun Watson this year or in the future, or is it a different guy? But I think most of us think it'd be the old one, and then everybody kind of benefits from a great quarterback like that.
Yeah, and so that's the hope. So let us jump. We're going to jump right into the week. Actually, I'm going to give you two questions, and then we're going to jump right into Week 13. The first question comes from Kyle. He motivated me to pop some questions on here. He has full point PPR, so I'm guessing this is a flex spot. Gabe Davis, Brandon Ayuk, or Rachaad White?
I'd definitely go with Rachaad White. Probably, I think he's going to get more of the carries. Fournette may be out again or not practicing still. I'm not sure. I think I've seen that. Could be wrong.
I saw he came back to practice.
I'm still going with Rachaad White. Ayuk, of course, he'll give you the 60 yards, maybe a touchdown, and then you got Junior Tyler Lockett. Gabe Davis could explode for 25 points. But I feel
Or
like I'm probably being safe. I might go with Rashad White on that.
okay, that's Rashad White's safer. I was trying as you're doing it. What I saw Leonard Fournette popped up. He was practicing limited all week, tagged as doubtful. So that's probably another continuation there. Yeah, Rashad White seems like a good thing for me as well. Let's go here. I got a couple more that have popped up here. Let's see what we got. Oh, we got a couple of questions here. Is Dameon Pierce a viable starter this week?
Um, I mean, if you got a better option, I would probably. If you got somebody that can it's comparable, I'd probably go with the other option at this point. I'm
That
kind
was
of
from
scared.
Felipe actually too.
I mean, he's coming off two subpar games. I mean, he's got what 18 yards total the last two games. And I'm not the Broncos. The Browns are got a pretty solid defense.
They give up the run. That's their weakness. If you want to run, they say that's what when Miami we went in. That's how I learned it. They said the Browns are the run against defense.
Well, I mean, that might hurt, but like I said, at this point in the game, you probably don't have very many more options to start than Damian Pierce. But like, if you've got an option that's comparable, I mean, I would go for it. I mean, if you're Jeff Wilson or Damian Pierce, I mean, I would go with Jeff Wilson, right?
Yeah, last week he kicked me in the butt, but Jeff Wilson also is going to have Mostert back in the backfield supposedly this week is what my
But
boy
I mean,
McDaniel
I'm
said.
still I'm more confident in a points out of Jeff Wilson than I am Damian Pierce at this point.
And if we've not learned anything about Jeff Wilson in the past, he looks better, interestingly enough, when he's a committee guy. So if there's two guys for some reason, he's like, and both of them usually do great. Like recently, Mostert's getting 8 for 75 in a touch, and then they're both just killing it. And I think it's something about it. He absorbs. He's a parasite or something. Maybe I don't know. Forrest was asking,
Pretty
Jalen.
sure appreciate you calling him parasite
Yeah,
though.
hey, he's sucking all the energy out. He's sucking all the energy to go forward. I mean, I'd kill
Yeah.
to be a parasite on a team that's in second place in the AFC right now. But Forrest was asking a Pittsburgh Steeler question. So Jalen Warren, is he worth a flex start if Harris sits? Warren's practiced the last 2 days. Harris has not. Warren didn't play last week, and Benny Snell decided football is something he can do. So
I think if Harris sets, I think Warren is a considered option. I think he's the number two guy. I think that would have been Benny Snell last week, or Jalen would have been Jalen Warren last week if he wasn't injured. So I think Jalen Warren fits right back into that role. And if Harris sits, I think he'd be a solid flex.
dude, where would he fall for you? Flex, RB2, or would
It'd
you
be flex. I mean, I wouldn't. I'd have to be really desperate to start him at like an RB2, but I think he's a flex guy. I don't think he's an RB2 at this point.
game by game preview? You know what I thought about asking for Christmas was they make these little soundboards that you can plug in. I think that's what like the professionals use, and I just push a button and it plays everything. And I thought I was like, ooh, they're you can get some dinky ones just to play with for not too bad. I was like, then I just push the button, it goes boom. I have like sounds
Yeah, I'm
like
pretty sure.
wah,
I'm sure
wah.
you could find one for probably like $10 somewhere. Probably.
I was like, oh, they're not too bad because something fun to play with. But as we're getting in here, we're going through games. I'll keep an eye on Facebook. We got a fairly full slate this week. By the time this is processed, the Bills and Patriots will have already started. So hopefully that was. I mean, I'm personally rooting for the Patriots for the first time in my life because that keeps the Dolphins ahead of the Bills. But it's good to see. So we're gonna look at the Sunday games out this week. You are without your Cardinals. You are without your Panthers. So meaning you don't have to stress watching Kyler look terrible, but get you 20 points. No D Hop. We don't know what's going to happen with Hollywood. No touchdown
But
Connor.
what's more importantly, it's no DJ Moore. Because I'm not have to worry about whether I'm setting him and he scores 20 and I start him and he scores 3. I really am starting to hate that guy.
But I mean, what are you going to do this week without being able to start Sam Darnold? I mean, who's going to win this week?
I mean, honestly, if Sam Darnold could play like he did last week every week, I mean, that's a lot to add. I mean, it wasn't great, but Sam Darnold will play good for about 3 games, and then Return to the old Sam Darnold.
I just want to call him butt fumble, even though I know he's not Mark Sanchez. But to me, they're the same person, because But so yeah. Also, as the Panthers, maybe you're missing Devonta Foreman, depending from where you are, and that's about it.
That
Maybe
is.
Dire Straits Terrence Marshall, who finally started to look. The arrow was looking up, and then.
It happens to a lot of people.
All right, so we have the Steelers versus the Falcons. It's a barn burner of two teams with 7 losses. The Falcons haven't had their bye yet, so they are both still in playoff contention. Who would have thought the Falcons would be half a game better than the Steelers this year? We're looking here at. We already talked about Jalen Warren. We know that the Falcons. We got Kenny Pickett and Marcus Mariota in here. Those two quarterbacks. One of them is top 12. The other one everybody thinks is a little better. If you had to start in a flex position, is it Mariota, or what confidence do you have in Pickett?
My confidence level in Pickett's about 14 points at this point. I mean,
Hey,
but I mean, and Mariota, my
it's
confidence level is Mariota's probably like an average of 14 points. But like Mariota's probably has a potential of higher ceiling games. I mean, you can run and get a touchdown here and there. But I mean, both of them are low end QB2s. I mean, it's tough to start either. Well, Mariota is a QB1 somehow, but he don't get started like a QB1. Let's say that.
He does it because when you start him, you're holding your nose, and you're just hoping that nothing bad happens. That's really the hope.
But Kenny Pickett hasn't been looking terrible. I mean, it's been looking great, but he hasn't turned the ball over. I mean, he's playing. You know, his third percentage, his completion percentage is okay. It's pretty good. So I mean, it's coming. They're going to bring him on slowly, but I think he's starting to look better than his first 3 games and over his last couple than he was in the beginning.
Yeah, I told you that week. I said he had the best. He had the best 4 interception game I've ever seen in my life. Like I was more impressed than I thought he was going. It was weird to see that kind of game go through for Kenny Pickett, and yeah, it's interesting to watch. Like you always say, the Steelers are going to find some way to sneak into the playoffs. I think we're safe this year, being that all the other teams have like 3 or 4 game leads on them.
Yeah, I don't think they're making it this year.
Hey, there was breaking news this week. Lamar Jackson signed with the Denver Broncos. Cornerback Lamar Jackson signed with the Denver Broncos this week. So we have Lamar Jackson versus Lamar Jackson, the Denver Broncos versus the Baltimore Ravens. We know which quarterback in this game you're starting, which quarterback you probably should drop. We are looking in this game. We know which tight ends are going to start in that game. But let's talk receivers in this game.
This whole game is dreadful except for Mark Andrews.
Lamar Jackson will run for 100,000 yards.
Like this game, this has got to be the worst collection of fantasy players in a game that I may have ever seen.
So we got KJ Hamler wasn't going to probably play this week. You got Jerry Jeudy's ankle. We don't know for sure what they're going to do. And then Dobbins is back on the practice field. So there's windows there. He's not going to play. Isaiah Likely's out. Lamar Jackson has a sore quad.
I'm not starting any of these guys.
It's just Cortland Sutton, and then obviously you're starting Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews, but Cortland Sutton's the only other viable player in this game.
Yeah, I guess. And I mean, even then, I mean, you really don't want to start him at this point the way Russell Wilson. But yeah, I mean, he's obviously the only viable starter I think that you got, other than Mark Andrews.
I was gonna say I might have to lie to you. What about Lat Murray?
Yeah, maybe if you can give him a touchdown. The offense is just so bad. I mean, they're not scoring any points.
Lat Murray's he's still put a decent fan. I think he's that because at this point running backs are just so depleted. Got a fresh off Facebook question from Chris. Why is Mike Williams not on Tom Brady's radar anymore?
Mike Williams?
Oh, sorry, Mike Evans. Mike Williams isn't because they're on different teams. But and Mike Williams was probably so hurt that Tom Brady couldn't throw to him either.
I was so confused. I was like, how do I answer this? Where is this going? But I've asked the same question over the last few weeks. It just doesn't look like Mike Evans that's been getting 1,000 yards every year for the last 20 years. It seems like He might get 1,000 yards this year. It's possible, but he's just that whole offense hasn't really been playing well. I mean, Godwin had the big game last week, but that was pretty much his first good game that he's had all year. It's just because it's not that he's not on his radar. I don't feel like anybody's really on his radar at this point.
I think the radar's broken. They're like
It could be,
a
yeah.
bat with no ears. Okay, so there you go. It's the best we got. Yeah, Mike Evans, Mike Williams. I don't even know about him. Yeah, it's a messy situation. I don't understand. I mean, my Super Bowl picks are down the tubes this year. At least I didn't pick the Rams. Thank goodness for
Pick
that.
the Rams, yeah.
At
I
least
think anybody would have been crazy to pick the Rams to go back to the Super Bowl. It's hard to repeat, man.
yeah, it's close to impossible. Okay, so we're going to the Packers versus the Bears. Like looking at that we knew the Bears would have about this record because Fields is starting to figure things out. But the Packers are probably one of the biggest shocks, other than every team in the West this year. Aaron Rodgers is still setting out. What effect if there is no? Well, let's look at.
Well, evidently Aaron Rodgers is going to play. He says he's going to play.
Yeah, but okay. So let's say Aaron Rodgers and Justin Fields play. Justin Fields coming off of the shoulder injury, or Aaron Rodgers with a rib injury, a running quarterback with a shoulder injury.
I'm going to go Justin Fields. He's just been playing better. I mean, at least I know if he gets hit, but I mean he can still take off and have run games and still not get hit. He's a quarterback. He's going to get hit regardless either way. Same way with Rodgers. He's going to get hit in the ribs. He's going to get hit whether he scrambles or not. But I'm still going to go Justin Fields just for the running, and Packers just haven't been playing that great. Rodgers is definitely not 100% healthy.
And Chase Claypool now is up to a flex low end.
Not really.
I mean, who's going to be Mooney? Komet?
I mean, Mooney wasn't really any good with Justin Fields. I mean, Claypool really hasn't been good since. I mean, he had a catch last week, but I mean, I guess it's going back to being Komet. I mean, yeah, of course, yeah, I would say Claypool's the number one, but I don't know if I want to start him as a flex.
So in this garbage game, you're basically saying start Aaron Jones or Montgomery is basically all you were saying.
And Christian Watson, dude.
You think Christian Watson even with the ribs? Because Christian Watson's.
Heck yeah, man! Just keep firing him up until he burns out, dude.
What about Lazard? Is he targets and everything? Are you playing him or is he?
I mean, I'm still playing him in a couple leagues because I mean, like I said, you probably don't, but like I said, a couple leagues, I'll 1 or 2 leagues I'll play him, and then 1 or 2 leagues I won't. I mean, I'm not putting all my eggs in one basket with him. I mean, I will give out other options, but I mean, if you got to start him, I mean, yeah, I would say he's still he's kind of safe, I guess.
Jaguars at 4-7, Lions at 4-7, Jaguars at a -1. Playing this week. This is a game that honestly I'm kind of intrigued to watch because they're two teams that are kind of fun for fantasy if you think about it. Because there's more players in this game that you would probably play than in the Packers and Bears game. And possibly then in the Ravens and Broncos game.
Well,
I said that in August.
That's definitely true. Case there.
If you have both receivers for the Jaguars, who are you starting this week?
I'll probably go with Christian. I'm still going with Christian Kirk because at the end he's still overall the number one receiver. So as far as consistency goes, I'm still going to go with him.
What would it take for you to start Zay Jones?
I would probably start. Who was the last receiver that we were talking about?
Lazard.
Oh, yeah, I would probably start Zay Jones over Lazard if that would.
Would you stack both those receivers because Trevor Lawrence is on fire and the Lions
might be on fire, but like, what would you have stacked those? I mean, look what happens if you would have stacked those receivers last week. I mean, it's hard for both.
Kirk would have stunk.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think both of them. I think it's going to be either or. I think there's just a greater chance that it's Kirk.
Intriguing. The Browns at the Texans. We've pretty much hit everything in this game. One quick question. Does Watson come back blow the doors off the Texans and then crap the bed the rest of the season because he just wants to beat up on the Texans.
I don't know. I honestly, I can't. I don't know. I don't think he's going to be the same old the Watson that we were used to. I
But the
mean, two
Texans
years
are that bad.
they are bad, but I mean, he hasn't played in 2 years. I feel like there's going to be some rust there.
It'll be interesting. I'm sure. Like
It
he's
will
like
be interesting. I mean, I'm going to pay attention to it. I'm definitely going to watch. I mean,
I
but
wonder if
like I said,
that's made national broadcast just because of him, or if everybody like basically he is avoiding the media like the plague because he's like I'm tired of because I'm a moron. But everybody else is like ranting and raving like, dude, we're excited. This is gonna be great. No more Studley, Jacoby Brissett, who's got us looking decent. We're gonna go to that, but I don't know. How about the game? One of the first games we have of two winning teams with winning records: the New York Jets and the Minnesota Vikings. I got to be honest. I don't think I would have predicted either of these two teams to be where they are right now.
no,
Probably
not
close
really.
to like Vikings, maybe about 500, and the Jets about inverse 4-7. I could give them 3 or 4 wins there.
That's probably
It's
what I would get.
an intriguing kind of thing there. So in this game, we're looking at some intriguing quarterback play. Where does White fall in Superflex versus the Vikings?
I mean, I feel like he's like like the QB 20 range. I mean, I'm not putting any confidence in Mike because we've seen this before. I mean, it could be very well Mike White comes out and throws 4 interceptions and 1 touchdown. So I mean, so saying that I'm definitely a QB 2, like a low end QB 2, but like I said, I can't put all my eggs in this guy. I just don't trust him.
And where would your boy Knight this week? I was just had the injury report. I'm gonna close it. Running back Michael Carter with the ankle. Um, is White? Are we? Is my? I said before. I don't know if I said it on the show or somewhere else that James Robinson could be the new. Oh my gosh, the Bears running back that was really good.
Herbert.
No, before him that went to the
Uh,
Jordan
uh,
Howard. That James
uh,
Robinson could be the next Jordan Howard, who had a great couple years, and all of a sudden they drafted the new shiny toy, and then he fell off the earth because they
I
healthy
mean, if
scratch him.
yeah, I mean that's I mean it seems Knight's going to get a considerable workload. I mean, if he performs like he did last week, I mean he's worthy of a flex option. But I mean, it's hard to know if he's going to perform that well. I mean, the Vikings defense, I'm not sure they're the great. I mean, there's definitely opportunity. The Jets are playing decent ball, so I mean, I think it's worthy of a flex play. I mean, at this point in the year, but like I said, I mean, I wouldn't 100% be confident in it though.
Let's move to New York. I got a friend going to this game actually. I got to take a box seat through somebody new. Commanders at the Giants. Two teams above 500. Once like this is just I feel like we're in bizarro world. The Commanders and the Giants above 500 in the same year, and I can't tell you who I would really play other than Saquon because you have to, and right now you're holding your nose and doing it. But who I would want to play on these teams?
Yes,
I
that's
mean, get me excited for this game.
He probably still going to start McLaurin though. I mean, probably
I'm
still
not
start.
excited about it.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm not. I really haven't been excited about starting any player we've talked about so far. I mean,
Well, you said that's what you want our podcast to be.
yeah,
The guys
I
we
mean
don't
that's
talk about.
yeah. But like I said, I mean, I'm not excited about starting any of these guys, but these are the guys you got to talk about because everybody knows you're going to start those other guys, so there's no real conversation there. I mean, like I said, I can't give you the right answer, obviously, because nobody knows. But I feel like talking about McLaurin is better than talking about like an AJ Brown, right? You're starting AJ Brown as a wide receiver 1, you're starting him regardless.
Yep.
Um, but McLaurin, I still think I still like a wide receiver 3 type. You still got to start him, and I think one of the Redskins running backs. I think you're still going to start one of those, at
That
least
was
worthy
what
of
I was leading to
a
next.
flex
Brian
play.
Robinson last week. Here I was pulling his stuff up. He had 20 receiving yards, 2 receptions, a receiving touchdown, and 105 yards on 18 carries. As of right now, Antonio Gibson with the foot was a non-participant, but that's yesterday. I haven't seen updated for today's reports. That moves him up a little bit, a little more excited for what we thought he was going to be starting the year.
I think, yeah, I mean, I think you'd have to put it. Oh man, I think you got to start him at least as a flex. He's going to get all the carries, and if they can, score some points, I'd be the obvious goal line back. So I think, yeah, I think he's probably a solid start at this point too.
Okay, Titans and Eagles. This is pretty much a chalk starters as far as I'm concerned. We're looking at Henry. That's about it. Traden Burke's starting to come on, but he sort of cheated last week. I had to start him in the game, but he got that fumble recovery touchdown. So that messed us Derrick Henry owners up. So is he worth starting anywhere, or would say him and Smith? Burks' arrow is pointing up. Smith's arrow is sort of horizontal. Which one of those would you feel more confident starting, knowing there's other guys that are gonna
I'm
score?
probably still more confident in Smith because I just don't know what Traylon, because he had that one big game, and then he had, but I mean, it's positive that he is getting involved. I mean, you've heard his name a lot the last 2 weeks. So I mean, I'd probably go one more week with Smith, and maybe Traylon Burks, continues. There might be a switch coming, but
Uh,
it's soon.
yeah, Seattle Seahawks and the Rams. This is terrible. The Seahawks have fallen off the cliff. They were tearing it up for a while. I don't even know. This feels like the Giants and the Commanders game.
Yeah,
You got
probably not going to start too many people from the. Probably won't start too many people from the Rams. Maybe nobody. Robinson's going on the hour now. So you're down to Van Jefferson and Skoranek as the two wide receivers, getting passes from Bryce Perkins, who's handing it off to Kyron Williams and maybe Cam Akers, probably not. So honestly, I don't know if you would start anybody on the Rams. I wouldn't start
Perkins just
anybody.
tucks the ball real quick too. Like watching that game last week, he just tucks and tucks it like he's like, I'm not confident to pass. And then
Yeah, so I'm not
got my
starting.
man Jefferson.
I'm not starting any of those guys. Van Jefferson might get a random touchdown, so that one's,
It was late too.
yeah. So I wouldn't. I'm not no confident in any of those.
You have both receivers for the Seahawks because you live on the West Coast. Which one? And you can only start one.
Um, I would hope to say DK and that they continue feeding him like they did last week, but I know that's not the case. But I'll still go DK.
Premier game of the day: Miami Dolphins versus the San Francisco 49ers. This is going to be a powerhouse offense versus a really good defense. If you have my son's fantasy team is really good this year because his starters are Tua, Tyreek, and Waddle. He's killing everybody. Should he temper expectations this week?
Um, who knows? I mean, this could be one of those crazy games where they score a lot of points. Even the 49ers might score a lot of points. Who knows? But I think don't expect a lot of points. I wouldn't expect. I'd probably expect 250, maybe two touchdowns. I mean, don't expect like a 35-point game, maybe a 15 to 20-point game. But like I said, in a game like this, it's going to be a heavyweight fight. I mean, it's going to be a slug punch here and a slug punch there. I mean, this is going to be a battle.
With the way these two teams are playing, not because it's my team, but these could be Super Bowl. This could be a Super Bowl matchup. The next teams that I'm going to talk about could be a Super Bowl. Like it
Oh, I mean,
doesn't
we
seem like
could,
there's as many teams that are like. There's not a lot of teams that you're like, oh, cool, they could be there. But these feel like two that we could be talking about later. It's kind of interesting. And hey, Tua for 250. That means Waddle gets $125 and Tyreek gets $125, and that's pretty much all they need for this guy to be good.
yeah.
The Chiefs, who I think right now are the class of the league, are playing the Bungles, who closed it down. Let's see. Let's check on the.
Isn't Joe Burrow undefeated against the Chiefs?
Oh, is he?
I think I heard that stat. I'm not sure.
I'm waiting. Mixon's concussion was what I was trying to pull up, but I don't see an update here yet. But Jamar Chase held himself out last week. That is quite an interesting development. So, but he's going to play this week. So the Chiefs have no receivers. The Bengals have 1,000 receivers. It's like a battle of wills. Isaiah Pacheco is starting to have the uptick. If you were playing this game and you could only play 3 players between the two teams, who would the 3 players be? And you can't play 2 quarterbacks. So obviously Mahomes, right?
I'm sorry. Who's the other team?
Chiefs and Bengals.
Bungles, that's right. I just said you were talking about Joe Burrow was undefeated against.
Yeah. It's past your bedtime, man. I
Well, I'm
get
starting. We'll start T. Higgins. Probably going to start Travis Kelsey, obviously,
it. And then,
um, and then Jamar Chase. It's probably the three guys I'm going to start, right?
yeah, I guess the Chiefs, true to their word, they're not going to have any stellar receiver popping out. The one guy pops out, then one guy pops out. So it makes sense to start. And Mahomes just looks so good. He is so good. Speaking of the disappointing AFC West, I mean, you got off of Josh Jacobs 3 million yards running versus the San Diego Chargers. So Chargers and the Raiders. These late games are good this week, man. The late games are Seahawks and Rams, which won't be good, but Dolphins, 49ers, Chiefs, Bengals, Chargers, Raiders. Those are
Yes,
like all flex games.
yeah. I mean, it's gonna be a good afternoon, good evening.
So we got some receivers in that game. Rank the receivers in the Chargers Raiders game.
Probably Adams first. I would think. It's Keenan Allen. I guess if Keenan Allen's playing a second, and then probably Josh Palmer third,
Ooh,
maybe.
moving up the rankings.
I mean, I don't know who else you would put above Josh. Who would
You
be
know
the
who's
third
getting
wide
if you
receiver?
need a
Matt
desperate flex
Collins.
play, Mac. Oh, no, I was going to say Mac. Serious, like at this point with injuries and things, if he might be on waivers for a desperate flex play. I had to throw him in a couple of weeks, and he's literally the number 2. If the Raiders are going to pass, that's who it's going to be. If it's not Adams, because
Well, yeah, he's
Moreau
the
will
only
get.
other guy. That's the only other guy they have,
Yeah,
really.
so it's just through attrition. Okay, Cowboy. Ooh, the Colts are getting blasted by the Cowboys on Sunday night, as far as I'm concerned. Um, Jonathan Taylor's in trouble, right?
I don't know if he's in trouble. He's been playing better the last couple of weeks. I mean, he's
Against the
still been
Cowboys,
kind
though.
of. I mean, the yards got to come from somewhere. I mean, Cowboys are good, but I feel like the yards are going to come from somewhere, and I think it more likely come from Jonathan Taylor than it would come from Matt Ryan while he's getting harassed by that rookie
Everybody, Michael
Micah
Parsons.
Parsons
He's so good too. Oh,
running all up his back. So
nuts.
I feel like Matt Ryan is just going to be like, can we just turn around and hand the ball off to Jonathan Taylor 49 times?
And okay, stay with the running back theme. Those 3 running backs. You're looking at DFS. Rank them. What order would you do? 1, 2, 3.
Probably Taylor, Zeke, and then Pollard.
Ooh, Pollard has fallen. Okay, Monday night is Saints and Bucks. 2 teams. Is that game even worth watching? Oh my gosh, it's going to be.
It's going to suck pretty bad, probably.
So let's just go quick. Receivers in that game.
Olave.
Is that it?
Well, maybe Godwin and Olave.
Godwin and Olave. That's
And
about it.
hopefully Mike Evans for our boy that said wonder why he doesn't target it. But yeah, I mean, I'm not confident in really anybody. Just I'm not really 100% confident in Olave to be honest with you. I mean, yeah, he's been a good rookie wide receiver, but he's not consistent really all that much either. So I mean, that's a tough fantasy game there.
By the way, I blame you. I started Jawan Johnson last week and got my 0 points.
I started Jawan Johnson as well.
Kick your butt.
Of course, I started him, and he does. Like you said, he'd already had like 3 or 4 good games in a row.
Yep.
And when you're coming across 3 or 4 good games in a row, and you're hoping for a fourth or fifth, you're like, I know there's an opportunity.
0. Like it was 0.
Going to happen.
Who's
Well, it's Juwan Johnson, man. You had to think that this was coming at some point.
2 weeks to the playoffs. Give us some wisdom. It's lucky week 13, JJ Wang, and let's
Where's
go.
the wisdom? I found myself being negligent of this the last 2 weeks. Not paying attention to the waiver wire enough because I mean there are still possible additions to your team that you can catch in the waiver wire this late in the stage. And if you need a player to make the playoffs, you're trying to get in the playoffs, you need a running back. Or you could have got Mike White. Somehow Mike White is still ratably being picked up off the waiver wires somehow. But like I said, he managed to get through in one of them. I just like I said, just not paying attention. You can have all these guys, but make sure you're paying attention to the waiver wire all the way through. And so as always, trust yourself and trust the process.